Good morning, Raiders. I hope you guys are excited about this new fusion. I know I am. This champion looks very powerful. I have everything I need to fuse this champion almost right away, but I'm still gonna stretch it out because I think I can maximize the amount of points I'm gonna get for the events, the tournaments, therefore get a couple more resources in the process. So I'll let all the other big YouTubers build this champion right away, figure out what's good, what's not good. So let's quickly talk about the champion before I get started, because this is new. Like the passive has changed. It's a defense-based champion. We thought it was going to be attack, so they definitely kind of switched it up a little bit towards the end right before releasing this champion. So I'm thinking this is basically going to be a nuker, right? A Rotos killer, attacks all enemies 3 times, everybody, and then has a chance of applying all these debuffs right here. You can maximize this almost to what is it, like 75% total, as well as increasing the damage, reducing the cooldown to a 3-turn cooldown. She's also going to be great in some dungeons, if I'm not mistaken. And then her passive totally changed. Basically decrease each enemy's accuracy by 10. Also will receive 4% less damage for each debuff on the attacker. I don't know if it's a total different amount of buffs or the stacks count as well. That would be weird. Probably not stacks. Heals this champion by 1250 HP each time a debuff expires on an enemy. Only hers or all the other debuffs we have yet to see, but definitely will want to basically work with this champion and other champions that have a lot of debuffs as well. And then finally has a 75% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn on enemies under 5 or more debuffs at the start of this champion's turn. And then you can place debuffs on weak hits. This is the first time we've seen this. So overall, really strong champion. I cannot wait to put her to the test. In fact, there's this combo I really want to try out. It's basically using the Harvest Jack, because this guy also places 2 debuffs, and then this guy right here, which basically will increase the duration of all debuffs on each target, and then his damage increases by 10% for each debuff on the target. Also defense-based champion. This is going to be nuts, so really excited about this fusion. Like I said, I don't know how well you guys are prepared, but let's go over the details. I have the calendar set up for you guys. I also have basically the tier list with all the champions included in this fusion. We want to see if any of these champions are good. In case you cannot do the fusion, then maybe you can get away with grabbing some of the rares or perhaps epics from this fusion. All right, so let's get going with first the tier list. Okay, so here I isolated basically all the champions that are needed for this fusion. At first glance, guys, there's really nothing fantastic about almost any of these champions, which is a good thing because it means you really want to push for the fusion if you can. Other than Basher, which has the increased skill cooldown, which is an effect, right? It's an instant action. It's not a debuff. It cannot be removed or stopped. This is really good. I just recently built mine. I am using him in Tag Team Arena, so you may want to get yourself a copy. And what do I mean by a copy? It's because this guy is obtainable from the Summon Rush, okay? Which it says right here. Like Necro Hunter, you cannot get. You can only get from fusing with all the 4 rares. But Basher, if you fuse him and then if you get him out of the Summon Rush, you'll have a second copy. So that is something to keep in mind, all right? Then moving on, basically all the rest, Necro Hunter, Bonekeeper, Bushi, are not really used anywhere. So I wouldn't really care about getting extra copies, but if you can get an extra copy anyway, be ready for the next fusion, great. Then we have all the rares. Aside from Fleshmonger and Anointed, there's really none in here that really stand out or that are used for anything extra, right? So if you can't get a second copy, or if you're early on and you cannot get this fusion, maybe try and get yourself a Fleshmonger or Anointed. If I'm not mistaken, the Anointed, let me pull up the second picture, is available from the Champion Training event, which started today, right? Fleshmonger is Dungeon Divers, which will start on the 17th, okay? But don't worry, I'll show you guys the calendar right after this. So overall, it's, I think, very nice, very balanced as well. If we even look at the fusion potions, they're all equal. Equal number of Magic, Spirit, Force, and Void champions needed for this. Arcane is always the same. So one of the, I think, fairest, I guess, if I may say that, fusions that we've seen so far. We also have 2 weeks, 4 days to do it, almost 2 weeks and 5 days, which is typically what we have, except for the Skull Lord, which was 3 weeks, but that one was a little bit different. So hopefully you guys have enough potions saved up. I know I don't. Simply because I knew I already had 3 of the epics needed for this, but still, hopefully you guys don't need to farm too much of these potions. It's typically what ends up happening though. You run out of potions and then you end up having to spend some gems on certain days to try and catch up. So don't forget, you know, keeps are only open a certain time of the week. Okay, let's keep going with the calendar. Okay, so I mapped it out for you guys so that you can sort of have an overview of what you're going to need to do in the next 2 weeks and 5 days or 4 days. Okay, so we're starting out with basically the champion training event. In case you guys don't know, the blue bar here is basically just the time of the fusion. Okay, so July 13th to 31st, and then anything that's in purple is an event, anything that's in orange is a tournament. Okay, I typically will put in red the ones that I do not need to do, but for you guys I'm just going to leave it like this so that you better understand. Okay, so champion training event, ongoing for almost 2 weeks, right, where we can get Bushi, Fury Stoker, Cataphract, Anointed, and Fencer. Now, I don't need any of these, but I'm still going to do the champion training event, and then whatever I get out of it is just extra for me. Also, something to keep in mind, the Dungeon Divers event is only starting on the 17th, so if you really want to push training your champions, basically, or leveling food, you might want to wait on the 17th. Therefore, you will be getting points for the champion training event, but also for the Dungeon Divers event, okay? These are little things that do matter in the long run. Anyway, artifact enhancement event, we have 2. Be careful, guys. So that's a lot of silver. Okay, if you need both Harrier and Stitch Beast, you may need to basically spread out your silver. Okay, so be mindful of that. Don't go all out on this one. Make sure you have enough. Perhaps you may need to do a little bit of extra farming to break even, right? Then Dragon Tournament, Hellfang. We do not have any overlaps, obviously, for the Dragon, the Spider, the Fire Knight, and the Ice Golem tournaments. And those are typically always the same. You're going to need about, I believe, 1,700 points. Actually, you know what? Let me pull a picture for you guys. And here we are with some previous, basically, events and tournaments from the Gerptop Fusion. Okay, so to get a rare out of one of the tournaments, it's typically about 2,000 points. I'm hoping they did not increase this, but it is something you need to keep in mind. Over the course of 3 days, you typically have enough energy in just regeneration, your daily quests and whatnot to get this rare, okay? But if you use all your energy to do this and then you also need to do champion training on that day, then you're going to end up having to spend a couple gems for those refreshes. Here's an artifact enhancement event, okay? So about 2,000 points worth of gear increases, basically. So keep that in mind. We have 2. Sometimes we have 2 rares out of 1 artifact enhancement event, but now it looks like we only have 1 per. So this is an example of an artifact enhancement event where you only have 1 rare. When you have 2, he's typically around 1,500 points, and then the second one around 26. But if it's just 1, it's 2,000 points. And then here's an example for the, what is this? This is a Summon Rush, okay? So if you do want to get that Basher, it's going to be about 3,000 points extra, okay? The rare will most likely be around 700 points or perhaps 1,000 points overall to get, okay? So by now you guys know what to expect, right? It's not the first time I make a video like this giving you guys the amount of points you need to complete these. You've seen a lot of these events, so just pace yourself. On my basically account, I could push and basically finish this fusion in the first 2 days, but I don't want to do that. Like, I'm even going to push it as far as the champion chase tournament. Why? Because when you pull this champion on the 24th, you're basically going to get a couple of points. Same thing if I fuse the Basher that I can basically do right now, because I only have the rares, not the actual Basher. I can also wait on the 24th and get a couple more points for this. So in the meantime, I'm just going to go about my usual business, get a couple more points, try and get a little bit more resources out of these events. If I get copies, like I said, great. That's just extra. It's going to go in the vault. Get ready for the next fusion down the road. and so that's the strategy. Okay, that's what I always do. I'm not in a hurry to complete this. Like I said, it's a great champion. I think she will be absolutely amazing. I'm almost thinking she is going to be nerfed. People are going to somewhat complain, but she's going to be a great addition to any roster, basically. Okay, so guys, that's it for today, or this morning rather, just the quick guide on how I typically manage all this. Hopefully you guys can get this champion. She looks fantastic. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you going for the champion? Are you basically going for only some of the rares or the epics perhaps? I would love to know. Okay, thank you so much and catch you later.